Impact Wrestling champion of the world, Moose, right here in South Florida. This is so exciting, Moose. We've got a big event coming to the Charles F. Dodge City Center in Pembroke Pines, which is near Fort Lauderdale. Impact Wrestling, they'll be doing their TV tapings for AXS TV on January 21st, January 22nd. Fans can come and be a part of this excitement. Tell us a little bit about the event.
It's pretty much all standard tapings. If any of you guys watch AXS TV, you see the action and some of the things we do on Thursday at 8 p.m. So this show is pretty much 2 days of TV tapings for the actual TV show that airs on Thursday on AXS TV at 8 p.m. So yeah, it's gonna be exciting. This will be my first time coming to South Florida since I've been with the company. I think it's been 10 years since the last time they came back, so I'm sure there's a lot of fans who is excited to come for the reunion, I guess you could call it. And I'm very excited to be a part of it. I mean, I live in Orlando, so that's just a short drive for me. So I'm very excited. I don't have to hop on a flight to for once in my career to go to a wrestling show. I can just drive down 3 hours. So yeah.
All right, so when you're driving down, what are you listening to? You got some tunes or ready for the car?
I listen to a bit of everything. I like hip hop, I like R&B, I like rock. The only thing I don't like, and I'm sure Mickey's gonna hate me for this, is I don't like country music. So, sorry, Mickey.
So, Moose, hey, what is it like being the world heavyweight champion? And you mentioned this has been a long time coming for Impact Wrestling to come back to South Florida and being a part of it as face of the company.
It comes with a lot of responsibilities. I mean, one of the responsibilities is me sitting here talking to you. I have to do a lot of these. We just had a great showing, pay-per-view Hard to Kill just a couple of days ago, and a bunch of the guys on the roster went home, but I had to come here to work on try to fill up seats for Fort Lauderdale. So it comes with lots of responsibilities, which I'm proud to carry. And if there's one guy in the company that don't mind doing those things, that's me, and myself and Deanna as well. But it's definitely great. Get to be the guy, the face of the company. Once you hear Impact Wrestling, the first thing that comes to your mind is who's the Impact Wrestling World Champion, and that happens to be me at the moment. So I'm proud of it. Comes with lots of responsibilities, which I'm happy to carry, and yeah, it's great. It's a great feeling.
What was that like too, when it was time for you to take that step and be that champion, and just the emotions that day and leading up to it and then becoming the champion?
Honestly, that day I took it just as another day, because I've always carried myself as a champion. So it was always something that I knew once the time would come that I'll be ready for, because for the last year and a half, for the last 2 years, I've carried myself as a champion, so it wasn't anything brand new to me. I didn't have to act any different or be any different. I just had to be myself, because I prepared myself for this moment, you know.
You mentioned Hard to Kill. Y'all killed it.
Yeah.
What was that match like for you, and just or you mentioned about it, but just a little more in depth about your match?
First of all, the pay-per-view, I've been here for 6 years now, I believe, and by far this was the best pay-per-view that I've been a part of from start to finish. And my match personally, I think it was a great match. I'm very happy I got to share the ring with both Matt and Morrissey, and I mean, and our match was different than every match on the card. And it was one of those things with our match, you really, for the people who actually watched the show every Thursday and knew the story going on to the match, really enjoyed our match, because we told a story that you would have to watch every single episode to understand what's going on. And I'm happy, man. Morrissey had a great showing, Cardona had a great showing, and I don't think we talk more enough about about Morrissey's story. Big redemption guy that's changed his life around in the past 2 years, and now he's here, and now he's doing these great things and putting on the showing like he did at the pay-per-view. And same thing with Matt Cardona, a guy who was in WWE and was heavily underused there, and now he's here being in the main event picture and doing an absolutely great job. So hats off to both those guys. Those guys, we all worked our ass off. I have a busted up hip now because of my stupidness in that match, I guess you could say. But I'm very happy about it. I'm happy with the result. Actually, obviously, I'm still the Impact World Champion, but I'm happy that going to get to that result, the entertainment we put on for the crowd to get to that result.
Well, geez, Moose, I mean, yeah, you're still the Impact Wrestling Champion, and what an effort. And you mentioned the hip. What is it like, because you've played football on the highest level, you're in pro wrestling at the highest level. What is it like injury-wise for both sports? Because both are just so very physical.
Oh, it is. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. Injuries happen, whatever fashion you look at it, whatever sports you play, it's going to be injuries. You just try not to think about it and try your best to push and think about it now. And unfortunately, when the injuries happen, just work through it and recover.
Did you ever think, even getting into pro wrestling, that it was that physical? Did you have a perception beforehand it was going to be that physical, or that was just something?
Yeah, I knew it was going to be. I mean, I've been a wrestling fan since I was 8 years old, so I knew how physical it was going to be, and that's like 2 days ago, whenever the pay-per-view was Saturday. I mean, that's a risk that we take when we decide we want to be professional wrestlers, right? And it's one of those things that if I could do it all over again, I would. I mean, it's because it's just the love for what we do.
Now you're talking about being a fan when you were little. So who are we going to when we see Little Moose, the young Moose, and some of his favorites growing up?
The same names that everybody else mentioned: Macho Man, Randy Savage, Razor Ramon, Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior. It's the same guys. Like, I was a big fan of pretty much everybody. I just left professional wrestling as a kid.
And it's interesting because there have been several, not many, pro football players, or at least college football players, that have made the transition to pro wrestling. What do you think lends itself to being able to be a football player and also transition to pro wrestling? Is it because of the physicality, or is it something more to it?
I think it's more about people who, if you actually love it or not. Like, I mean, just because you're a football player, that doesn't mean you're going to transition and be a great professional wrestler. I think the main ingredient to being a great professional wrestler coming from football is if you actually love watching it, if it was in your heart, if it was something you wanted to do as a kid. Like, I think that's the main ingredient.
Ernie the Big Cat Lad.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts of the Big Cat?
I'll be honest, I've heard the name a lot. I know exactly who he is. I've never actually seen his work, because he was
that was a long time. That's in my day.
Yeah, I wasn't even born when he wrestled, so it's like, but I definitely know the name. I know he's a great football player who also was a great professional wrestler, but I actually never seen him wrestle. Maybe it's something I have to look up on YouTube just to catch up some of his things, but I definitely know he's an all-time great. I definitely respect what he did for guys like myself and Goldberg and Roman, all those guys who came in from the football world. So yeah,
that would have been one of my dream matches. Would have been Moose versus the Big Cat Ernie Lad. That would have been great to see. Hey, you're a Syracuse guy.
Yeah.
Read about that and all. What are your thoughts? Do you still follow Syracuse? And what was it like for you during your football days in college playing at Syracuse?
I don't follow that much football anymore. Because football is one of those things where I wasn't really a big fan of. I was just lucky to be good at it. So once my football days was over, I knew I would never watch it again. I knew I would never really pay attention to it. So, but I mean, Syracuse was a great experience. I mean, going to college was a great experience. Some of the stories that you could tell, and some of the things that happened as a young adolescent, you know. But yeah, but as sports-wise, I don't keep up. Like, I can't even tell you how many games they won or who they played or if they even went to a bowl. I can't tell you that.
Well, I was going to say, what was Syracuse football like back in your day when you played? Was it pretty good? Was it okay? I know. Was Miami, University of Miami had a great run. I don't know during your time if Miami was during that time as well, or even if you played Miami.
Oh, we played them every year I was there. I think we lost to them every year I was there. But we had some good seasons, and then we had some terrible seasons. Rest in peace to Greg Robinson. He was the head coach of my senior team. He just passed away a couple of days ago. Great guy, great coach. Sorry his life was taken so short. But yeah, we had some rocky seasons. Then we had some good seasons. Like my junior year, we went to a bowl game and I actually played against. The funny thing about it, I played against Roman Reigns.
Georgia Tech?
Yeah, Georgia Tech. We went to a bowl game that Syracuse played Georgia Tech. So we faced off against each other in the football days, you know. So that's funny, like small world.
I don't know what positions you all played. Did you?
He was
a
defensive end and I was an offensive lineman, offensive tackle. So I'm sure we went head to head. I can't tell you the play because that was years ago. But I mean, I know he was a starting defensive end for Georgia Tech and I was a starting offensive tackle for Syracuse. So we definitely butted heads back in the day. So I mean, we'll see. Maybe it's something that might happen in the future. Like you never know how the world works, right?
The Orangemen, did they get the victory that day? That's the big question, Moose.
No, they kicked our ass. He got the win. So he's 1-0 versus Moose right now.
You're gonna get him later on, Moose.
Yeah,
You're gonna get him in that ring later on, and you'll even that score up.
Yeah.
It's interesting too when I was reading because I know something about DeMatha Catholic High School. You played football there, but what a basketball power that school had become. And I'm curious if you played any basketball there when you were there, or just football.
Just football. I want to say it was my sophomore year. Maybe I tried out for the basketball team, and I got cut. So.
But it was such a great program there.
It was more known for basketball than it was for football. The football team was always good, but it was definitely more known for the basketball program.
Because so many players had come out of there. I just remember reading all about that even years ago and all that. It was a good athletic program and a really good basketball program. So that's why getting cut from there is that's no shame. And exactly.
It was a basketball-driven school, yeah.
So then all of a sudden you started to do your training, and I really want to get into this too. So you started your training in Atlanta, and that was with Mr. Hughes?
Yeah.
What was it like just getting started and learning the ropes of professional wrestling?
It was definitely a fun experience. I mean, Hughes taught me the basics. Obviously, without Hughes, I wouldn't be to where I'm at today. But what I tell people when I talk about learning to be a professional wrestler, I feel like Hughes taught me the basics on how to hit the ropes and how to take a bump and how to do this move and how you do this move. But I didn't really learn how to put all those things together until I met with Scott Demore in Windsor with his school, Can-Am Wrestling Factor, or BCW, whatever he calls it now. But I didn't really learn how to put all those things together and make a full package of what wrestling was. So I give some credit to Hughes and I give some credit to Scott, and I also give some credit to my time at the ROH dojo. So it was a bunch of different things put together that created Moose, you know what I'm saying? It just wasn't one guy.
And Moose, those are some incredible learning tools that you've been able to go through to get you to where you are.
Yeah.
And gee, now when you come almost sort of full circle, working with Scott, and what's that been like now too?
Oh, it's great because he's definitely a good friend of mine. We're more family at this point in life. And he's like a mentor of mine, and just him being my boss is probably the best thing I could ask for. A guy that you consider a family member is your boss. So it doesn't get better than that.
I also am interested in this because you had a really good tag match with D'Angelo Williams.
Yeah.
And he also came from pro football ranks.
Yeah.
Did you think that he was going to do as well? He did incredible that match. I was actually there for that one. He did incredible in that tag match. You were incredible in that tag match. Did you think that that was something, I know you can't speak for him, that he might have gone on and pursued that, or you knew it was going to be a one and done?
I knew it was going to be a one and done because he's very strong-willed, and when he said something, he means it. You're not going to be able to change his mind on it. But I also knew he was going to do fantastic because it was like one of those things I said. Not only is he an athletic football player, he watched wrestling as a kid, and he still watches wrestling. He still goes to WWE shows and AEW shows and Impact shows when he can, just to be a fan. So as soon as I knew he was coming in to do a match, I was like, he's going to do phenomenal because he's a big fan of this, and he's also athletic. So you're probably going to see the best debut from a, you know what I'm saying?
An athlete from another sport.
An athlete from another sport, yeah.
It was also interesting in reading a lot of your bio, and by the way, you have a tremendous bio. And more to come. So
More
those
to
pages
come,
are going to increase. American Top Team.
Yeah.
King Mo, Dan Lambert, Bobby Lashley, Stefan Bonner. What was it like just being a part of the crossover pro wrestling and MMA and being one of the first to be involved in something like that?
Oh, that was fun. That was a fun time of my career with Impact. That was early on. And it's funny because all these people in Twitter world, or in Twitter world who are just strictly WWE fans and now have heard of me, always been like, oh, this dream match we want to see is Bobby Lashley versus Moose. And it was like, that's not a dream match. I've wrestled him like 12 times already. Like, just go put on the old Impact tape and see it. It's not a dream match at all. Like, obviously he has gotten so much better, and I've gotten so much better since the last time we faced each other. So it definitely would be different dynamics if we was to wrestle now. But at the end of the day, it's not a dream because it's something that's already happened multiple times. But yeah, that was being the first to do something is always a great experience. And those guys, King Mo and all those guys from the American Top Team, and Dan Lambert, which I'm good buddies with, he's a great guy. He has a great mind for professional wrestling too, because you could tell it's something that he's watched and been a fan of for a long time, and it shows when he's cutting his promos because he does it so well.
He can talk.
Yeah,
oh my gosh! Yeah. And you're right. He's been a fan for years. Yeah. His belt collection in his home is incredible.
Yeah, and I try to tell people, I'm like, you can't just get anybody to be a wrestler just because they're an athlete. You have to get people who actually love wrestling. It's something that they watched as a kid and wanted to do. Because if you just get a random athlete to, oh, you're an athlete, you want to become a professional wrestler, after 3 months of it, they're probably going to quit because there's no passion in it, right? Yeah.
It's passion for, I think, a lot of what we do. Yeah. If you don't have that passion, how long is it going to last?
How long is it going to last, yeah.
Did you ever have any interest in MMA? And did Dan ever try to get you to do some MMA?
I actually, before I started to become a professional wrestler, I'm good buddies with a guy called Frank Trigg. And I told him that I think I could fight MMA, and he talked me out of it quick because I used to roll around with him. And I'm one of those guys where I have the mindset where I want to do something once, and I still have that mindset. I would love to have 1 or 2 MMA fights just to say that I did it, you know what I'm saying? And I'm one of those guys, like, if I have an MMA fight and I actually win, it makes me even more of a badass in professional wrestling, right? So it's one of those things that I do want to do maybe just one time. Hopefully I win, just to help my wrestling career. It's not something I want to do long term, just once or twice, kind of like the CM Punk deal. Just do it once, do it twice. If it works out, if I win, then maybe even just do it once, and if I win, I'll just be like, hey, I'm a fucking badass, right? And if I lose, then it's like, oh, I suck at it. I shouldn't have done it. So, yeah.
Hey, if you win, you're undefeated.
Yeah.
You retire undefeated as an MMA fighter.
Yeah.
It's such a cool dynamic because we see so many pro wrestlers that have tried MMA, and we see the MMA fighters try pro wrestling. There's just something about it. But as you said, the ones that are passionate about it, when they make the transition, are the ones that
you can't come to wrestling trying to make money because you're not going to do well, and because you're not passionate about it, you're probably going to end up hating it and falling out of love with it and end up looking for something else. You have to be passionate. It has to be something that you watched as a kid and something you really wanted to do and something you fell in love with as a kid, and that's the only thing that's going to keep you through the hard road of doing it, is because this is something you always wanted to do. But if you're coming in just to make a quick dime and just because you think it's easy money and you think you're athletic, you're not going to get far. I've seen it so many times, and it ends up not ending up well.
And if it's a big name, it usually may become like a one-day payoff.
Yeah.
It's a one-time thing.
Yeah.
You maybe come in and do something like that. But if you really want to excel and do something like it, like King Mo, who was involved, is still trying because he loves it.
He loves
MMA fighter, but he loves pro wrestling and all, and you could tell that. And he continues to try to climb the ranks and all. And we'll wrap this up, and I thank you so much for your time, champ. I'm curious, even like high school, college, what are some of your friends? Because I'm sure you have friends that are pro wrestling fans. What do they think of Moose, the world champion? And do you get some text messages and all from some of the friends in college and high school?
It's still surreal for them because it's like some of these guys I told them as when I was in high school that I was going to be a professional wrestler. And they all laughed. I was like, "You're a fucking idiot," or "No way." And now I'm doing it. And like, wow.
And he's a champ.
You actually follow your dreams. Even some of my ex-teammates with the Falcons and teammates I had, like, that I still talk to, they was like, "I can't believe you actually did it." Like, because when in football days, that's all I would talk about and joke about. Was like, "Did you guys watch wrestling?" And they were like, "Nobody watches that stuff." And I would always want to have a conversation about what was going on in WWE, and we still have conversation with some of those guys I talked to. It's like, damn, you actually said you was going to do this, and you're actually doing it. Like,
well, I know you talk about the passion. It's interesting because that's going to be a harder question, but I'll ask anyway. Is there anyone from your high school, college, or even your pro days that, I don't know if they had the passion, but you might have looked at them and said, he might have a chance to become a pro wrestler?
There's a lot of guys I look at like when I was in the NFL, there's a ton of guys that would have been great football or great professional wrestlers, but it's like they have to have that one ingredient that's needed to take you far, and that's the passion of it. Like, so yeah, it's like passion is the main ingredient that makes a professional wrestler. It's like you have to love this to go through the concussions and go through the hurt and go through the bumps and go through all, you know what I'm saying? And knowing that when you first start, you're probably not going to be making a lot of money doing it. You're probably going to be making $100, if that, for your first couple of shows. Are you going to be okay with just making that? And that's where passion drive. Like, if you're, like, for me, like when I first started doing this, my first 10 matches I got paid $50, $30, but it's just nothing. But I loved it so much that I didn't care. This is what I wanted to do. Yeah. So
the payoff was later on down the line as far as financial.
This is a payoff now. Like, yeah, it was for.
I'm thinking Gronk.
Right.
I'm thinking Gronk has the passion. Gronk could be somebody that might be able to parlay. I know he's done a little bit.
I don't think he. I think Gronk has the. Like, I don't think Gronk has a passion as to do it as a second career.
Regularly, consistently.
I don't think, no. I think he has a passion, like, it's fun to watch, it's something to do, is like, but I don't know if he ever wanted to be a professional wrestler growing up.
The grind.
I think he's one of those guys that it's entertainment to him and he loves watching it. But I don't think he is passionate in the sense that I want to do this. Like, I don't think it's that kind of passion. Like, for me, from what I know from him being his teammate. Yeah.
We saw at Hard to Kill Ring of Honor have a presence there. What is it like for you seeing AAA, New Japan Pro Wrestling, where you, I believe, worked in as well, an AEW, and some of this Impact Wrestling and pro wrestlers from other organizations competing? What is it like for you?
James is now going to WWE to be in the Rumble. Yeah.
Royal Rumble.
It just shows that wrestling is evolving right in front of our eyes. Like 5 years ago, this wouldn't even be a conversation about talent exchange and Kenny Omega coming to Impact Wrestling, or the Good Brothers going to AEW, or Mickey James, an Impact champion, going to WWE.
Royal Rumble.
Like, so who knows? Like, it's great. I mean, I'm a big support for it. I hope it keeps going on. It's great. Hopefully, we could do more with all those companies and even with WWE. It's only going to make. At the end of the day, there's only one person that wins in this whole situation. That's the fans. That's it.
Well, Champ Moose, I'm going to close it with this. I see the 5-Star Volleyball Club, which is a prestigious volleyball club in Florida. I know, so you got to talk about the 5 Stars Volleyball Club. And then also, we've got to talk about the shoes. Look at the shoes. Hey, Moose is styling for us today.
So the 5-Star Volleyball Club is in Florida. It's based out of Orlando, actually.
Yeah, Orlando. Okay, yeah.
My wife, one of her good friends runs this program, and what my wife does, coaches some of the teams for her, and one day she brought me back home a shirt.
Was wife involved in volleyball? Was she a volleyball player?
She played volleyball for over 10 years. She pro too. She lived in different parts of the world, like in Thailand and Serbia, and like a whole bunch of different countries playing volleyball. And she did it for, I want to say, 12 years.
Pan Am's World Championships, Olympics, or not that?
She never made it to Olympics, but she did play pro worldwide, so yeah.
Did you ever try volleyball?
No. She tries to teach me, and it's like, I can't. You know what's so weird? A lot of volleyballs can touch their arms together like this and keep it straight. And she could do it, and I'm like, you're a freaking alien to be able to do that. But she tries to teach me, and I suck. And then the shoes, she actually just bought me this after the pay-per-view for retaining my Impact World Championship. I came back to the room and I had this surprise on the bed for me. So she's the best. She shows me a lot of support, and I love it for it.
There he is, the Impact Wrestling World Champion Moose. We're going to be coming to Fort Lauderdale, Pembroke Pines, at the Charles F. Dodge City Center, January 21st and 22nd for AXS TV tapings. Great shows, great talent. You're going to have AXS TV with Impact Wrestling is Thursdays at 8 p.m.
Yes.
Moose, I want to thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.